Hello and welcome to your guide on using the semicolon, colon and dash in writing. We will begin with how to use the semicolon. Very simply then, the semicolon marks a long pause in a sentence. They are used between clauses which could stand alone, but which are closely related. For example, he ran with his shirt over his head, semicolon. He had forgotten his umbrella once again. She couldn't dance in her favourite ballroom. It was being renovated. Notice as I say that though the two parts of each sentence there can stand alone, but doesn't need to because they are closely related, and therefore instead of using a full stop, we use the semicolon. Now, this video is more so to be used in English Language Paper 1, the creative writing, and in English Language Paper 2, the transactional writing. In descriptive writing then, we probably will use the above examples where we've got two standalone clauses. We can clearly use that in descriptive writing. The next example I'm going to show you probably is more suited to English Language Paper 2, which is your transactional writing. So, you can also use a semicolon when you join two independent clauses together with one of the following conjunctives. So we've got however, moreover, therefore, consequently, otherwise, nevertheless, and thus. So your sentences might look like the following. I am going home, semicolon. Moreover, comma, I intend to stay there. Or, it rained heavily during the afternoon, semicolon. However, comma, we managed to have our picnic anyway. Or, they couldn't make it to the summit and back before dark, semicolon. Therefore, comma, they decided to camp for the night. So again, if we look closely at the sentences above, we do actually have two independent clauses each time. Okay? And our semicolon is kind of segregating the connective. So you've got two independent clauses. The connective there, or the conjunction, whichever word you have been told to use, is kind of isolated by the semicolon and a comma. But as I say, on either side you should have two independent clauses. Quick test then, see if you can place the semicolon in the sentences below. Number 1. There was a sharp racing air, the ground beneath us was dry, the sea was calm and clear. Neither of us spoke, we merely waited in silence to see what would happen. It's a shame the shop is closed, however we'll come back tomorrow. So just test yourself out for a second there and see if you can place the semicolon in the correct place, and I shall bring up the answers now. So your answers are here. There was a sharp bracing air, semicolon. The ground beneath us was dry, the sea was calm and clear. Neither of us spoke, semicolon. We merely waited in silence to see what would happen. And then, it's a shame the shop is closed, semicolon. However, comma, we'll come back tomorrow. So just a quick test there to see that you can use the semicolon in between two independent clauses, and you can use the semicolon in between two independent clauses with a connective or a conjunction, however you've been taught connectives and conjunctions. Okay, so next we're going to move to the colon. In descriptive writing and creative writing and transactional writing at comprehensive/secondary school, more often than not, this is the most common mistake. And the most common mistake with the colon is that some people will place the colon in the middle of an independent clause or an independent sentence or a complete idea. A colon should be written after the independent clause or the complete idea. So if we have a look at our examples, every repairman must have, colon, a screwdriver, a hammer and a saw. Common type of sentence that we see in people's work. Now, a lot of people think that that's fine, but it's wrong, because if we look at the bit before the colon, every repairman must have, that is not a complete idea or an independent clause or sentence. It does not make sense. It's meaningless. So that is why the colon is incorrect here. You have to have, as I say, an independent clause, a complete idea or an independent sentence before you introduce the colon. So let's have a look at how we might do that. So, as I say, we just need to make the bit before the colon an independent sentence or a complete idea. So we've got this. There are 3 things every repairman must have. Okay, that's before our colon is used, as you can see. A screwdriver, a hammer and a saw. So then we ask ourselves, is this a complete idea, or is this a complete sentence or a complete clause? Well, yes, it is. It is a complete idea. Naturally, the reader might want to ask what the 3 things are, but we have a complete idea. We have an independent clause. There are 3 things every repairman must have. Okay, so don't forget that rule, especially, as I say, in this instance, I'm only talking about creative writing, descriptive writing and transactional writing. So let's make sure that we understand this rule. Now, we're going to move to what I think is a more impressive way of using the colon at GCSE level in creative writing. For a more basic explanation then, in prose, a colon does only one thing. It introduces. It can introduce anything, a single word, a phrase, a sentence, a quotation, or a list. But remember, in this instance, we're talking about the 2 writing sections of English Language Paper 1 and English Language Paper 2. So, for instance, here's a couple of examples of what I mean. So, Joe has only one thing on his mind. It is a complete idea, an independent clause. And then the first instance, we've just emphasised one word, colon, profit. Joe has only one thing on his mind, profit. Now, in the second example, we've done this. Joe has only one thing on his mind, colon, his stock portfolio. We've introduced a little phrase there. And then in the third one, Joe has only one thing on his mind. He wants to get rich. Full sentence. And finally, which is your list, Joe has 3 things on his mind: stocks, bonds and certificates of deposit. Interesting thing, and one of the most important things here, which you will have noted because obviously we've discussed it earlier, is that before the colon there is a complete idea, an independent clause, and then whatever comes after it is the bit we are emphasising. It can be a single word, a phrase, a whole sentence, or a list. Now, in creative writing, the colon, I think, is wonderful, especially when you're looking at things like structure as well, where you can create suspense and leave the reader hanging on, waiting for information. So we can think very carefully about how we can use the colon in creative writing. You can write pretty much anything, but try and emphasise something important after the colon. We might put something like, Joe had had a difficult day, colon, his mother had passed away. And then your emphasis there lies on the second part of the sentence, the bit after the colon, the fact that the mother has died. Okay, so the colon is a powerful tool, especially to be used in your writing. Okay, we're going to move now to the dash, which is dead straightforward, and it's just another piece of punctuation we can use, because remember, the examiner says they want a full range of punctuation. The dash then. The dash is used for special emphasis when we think a comma is too weak. So when we really, really want to emphasise something, we might sub in the comma for the dash. And I've put an example here. Linda Simpson, comma, the president's most trusted economic advisor, comma, will resign her office during today's press conference. Okay, so now let's look at it with the dash. Linda Simpson, dash, the president's most trusted economic advisor, dash, will resign her office today during today's press conference. Now, the dash here truly emphasises that it is the most trusted advisor of the president. And you've got that extra emphasis. So there's no need to overthink the dash, actually. It does the same job as the comma. But what we want to do is really emphasise a clause or a section of the sentence, and therefore we might use the dash instead. Okay? And just a couple more examples there to finish off. The murderer, comma, who had killed 31 people, awaited his execution. So again, we might just use the dash there to really emphasise how many people he's killed, which is a lot. The murderer, dash, who had killed 31 people, dash, awaited his execution. Notice when we take the middle bit out, which is who had killed 31 people, we do have a sentence, the murderer awaited his execution. And then the other example there, if it was a case of transactional writing, the tiger population, comma, which is now on the verge of extinction, comma, needs your help. So again, the tiger population, dash, which is now on the verge of extinction, dash, needs your help. Naturally, that's the most important part, because that's the bit we need the reader to acknowledge. Oh my God, the tigers are nearly extinct. Again, if you take that out, you've got the tiger population needs your help. So it's dead straightforward. This is only a quick video on the semicolon, colon and dash in terms of GCSE English, looking at the writing section on English language paper 1 and the English language section on paper 2 writing. I hope this has been useful. Dead straightforward, nothing over the top. And don't forget to try and use a colon, semicolon and dash in your written work for that section of the examiner's mark scheme where it indicates a full range of punctuation. Okay? Hope this has been useful. Please check out my YouTube channel for my other videos. Just type in my name, which is Stacey Ray, Stacey, and Ray is Reay. And good luck in any of the exams you're in.